I got to ask you your opinion about Chargers game coming up in New England.
Right.
But before that, I think this morning a friend of mine told me that Boomer had said about someone that he knows in the NFL told him almost for certain that McCarthy was taking the job. It just iron out the particulars and whatnot. So I don't know how much credence that holds,
I don't know that. I wouldn't say he's out of it, but I wouldn't say he's in it. And like I said, Rule's name has gotten very prominent in the last 18, 12 hours. I don't know if they've hit if he and McCarthy, clearly McCarthy wants it, but had they hit some kind of, money or power issue, who knows? You never know what goes on in these negotiations.
I guess it was a big love fest there that everyone loved each other. But my question to you
is, would have happened already, though. It definitely something's up. It would have happened already. They wouldn't have
really think so? Doesn't it take a lot of ironing out of different things that the media wouldn't know about?
They finished their talk with everybody 2 days ago. So I mean, last one in was yesterday. So I mean, they basically have had time to find. Listen, they didn't have to finalize the contract yet. They needed to get the broad strokes done so they could announce a deal. They didn't have to get the fine proof. They didn't have to get the fine print yet. But
Boomer said that he was basically clearly from his source.
I don't think it's done though. I think we would have heard if it was done. I don't think it's done. And there's a lot of rumblings that something's up, but I can't clarify because I just don't know. I don't know what's going on. I think that they're both still in play as far as I can tell. John in Brooklyn, what's up, John?
Hi, Mike. How you doing today?
Good. What's happening?
You know what? I'd like to see McCarthy here, but I don't see it happening due to a power struggle. But here's the problem I have. You got $100 million in cap space, so you're going to bring in some veterans here, expensive ones. Now, these veterans that you're going to bring in know more about football than the guy that you want to bring in possibly from Baylor. So where is the respect factor going to come in now? I mean, if you bring in a guy like McCarthy, the respect is already there.
Yes, no question.
So then why spend? So what are you spending all this money for then?
Well, they don't waste that. You see, free agents are independent contractors. They want two things. They want to go where the buck is good, and they want to go where they think they have a chance to win, where then you're not wasting their time. And that's what they want. They want a coaching staff where they think they're professionals, and they want, obviously, first and foremost, to get paid. Wilson in Roxbury. What's up, Wilson?
Hey, Mikey, how are you?
What's
listen,
happening?
real quick, before I get to Eli, real quick. It'll be a Christmas gift for us Giants fans if Ben McAdoo ends up in the Jets. I mean, he'll ruin the franchise. Forget about 4 years. He'll ruin that franchise in 6 months.
I don't think it's happening, but go ahead.
I know. Hey, listen, real quick on Eli. Right now, the season mercifully is over and the dust settled. Gun to your head. Is he coming back next year, yes or no?
I'm being completely honest with you. I think it's 50-50.
50.
I think it's 50-50, and I think what they're going to ask him to do is I think they're going to ask him to take a pay cut, and I think a lot of it will depend on how they word it. If they say, Eli, we want you to take a pay cut and it's your job, he might come back. If they say, Eli, we want you to take a pay cut and we're not promising you that you're the quarterback, I don't think he'll accept it. If they're telling him they're going to draft a first-round pick and, we could play him like we did you, I don't think he'll agree to come back and be pulled out of his job, after a couple of weeks. I don't think he wants. Kurt Warner was a gentleman about that. He really was. The Giants had a winning record. They had a winning record. But they realized for their future they needed to get Eli in the games. And they were going into a very tough finish of their schedule. They had a brutal 7 games, all against really good teams, except for one, big-time teams. And they went and put Eli in after 9 games. And Kurt was 5-4. And Kurt didn't say a word. He said he understood. And he went from there to more success. But Eli needed to get in, and Eli lost all but one game. And in that one game, a couple of the games, including a losing effort, he played brilliantly against Pittsburgh, and you said, wow, that is the future. And after that, they never had a losing year for 8 years with Eli, and they won 2 Super Bowls. So that made sense. The move made sense. Eli, I think, would understand it. I just don't think he'd want to go through it. Al in South Plainfield, what's up, Al?
Hey, what's up, Mike?
Yes.
The analogy you gave earlier about the completed pass on the 50 and returning to the 4, and then a fumble and no recovery, the reason why that's not accurate is because the referees immediately called it an incomplete pass. So that's why nobody tried to retrieve the ball. So it was immediately called incomplete, and that's why
But it wasn't an incomplete pass.
No, they ruled it incomplete immediately.
It wasn't an incomplete pass, though. It was
correct.
It was changed to a doesn't matter. You could still pick the ball up. The point is, if you have possession of the ball, there's nothing in the rule that says that the pass has to be called incomplete. That's my point. The play in the addendum on the rule that they say is in the rule book and that they knew, which I don't believe, and nor did Terry McAuley believe, and he only did 3 Super Bowls. The rule that they talked about said nothing about the rule being that the play had to be called initially incomplete. What they said was if nobody completes the ball, picks up the ball in the body of the field. So if that had happened and he had fumbled that ball out of bounds, it would have been Chicago's ball right there on the 4-yard line. If that had happened at the end line and it went out of bounds on the 4, it would have been a completed pass and out of bounds to Chicago. The reason they called it complete is because nobody picked up the ball. That cannot be the reason why it's incomplete. That cannot change possession. It doesn't make any sense. If it's a completed pass, it's still their completion. It's still their possession. So to me, that rule makes absolutely no sense.
No, I agree with that. But if they called it initially incomplete, can they overrule that? Because that's why.
Yes, they could. Well, they did overrule it. They did overrule it. They didn't call it incomplete. They called it a completed pass.
If they called it a completed pass, then it should have been on the 4-yard line.
No, but they couldn't because nobody picked up the ball.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense. That's what I said. The way the rule states, I gave you a whacked out version of it, but the bottom line, there's nothing in the rule that says the ball has to be first called incomplete and then changed to a completion. Once it has been called a completion on the field, that the player 3 steps, made the move, had possession, you got to give him the ball in the body of the field. If nobody if the other team doesn't pick up the ball, it has to be that team's ball. But it can't be an incompletion if it's a completed pass. It's a completion, but I'm invalidating the completion because nobody picked the ball up. Doesn't make any sense. Ira in Staten Island, what's up, Barrett?
Not good, Mike. Not good. I mean, I'm just hoping against hope that, like you said, if McCarthy was out of it, you would have heard something or read something about it.
I don't think he's out of it because his side would have leaked it. But I also think there's clearly opposition inside the organization to McCarthy, and I've heard that too. I've heard that I've heard don't rule McCarthy out. I've heard don't rule out. So to me, there's something going on. I don't know what it is, Ira. Is it control? Is it money? Is it one guy against another guy? I don't know what's going on.
I mean, well, I tell you, I have a feeling it's probably more about control, and maybe it is about a little money. But this is where Christopher Johnson has to step in. You know what? Yeah, you want the football people to make the decisions, but I mean, forget about the fans. You've heard Carl Banks. You've heard all these people on the radio that this is a no-brainer hire.
Brett Favre.
Yeah, you can't. Do you know Saturday is the 12th of January? It's 50 years this Saturday since we won a Super Bowl. They can't make a mistake by hiring this guy, Matt Rule. They got about a 10 or 15% chance that this guy may turn out to be something. It's going to be the wrong decision if they make it final that Matt Rule is the head coach of the Jets.
I don't understand the fascination with Rule, but I don't know him. But something is not right here because
Mike, let me ask you this: do you think the Jets were so far above all the other teams that were looking for head coaches? You didn't see Rule's name connected with any of these other teams that needed a head coach. Do you think the Jets were so much smarter than every other team?
No.
Thank you.
No, I don't. I don't. I think one of these guys knew Rule. He's a local guy. He's a New York guy. He was with the Giants for a year. He's been in Philly with the Temple team for a long time. I think somebody knows Rule and maybe it's McCagnon who knows Rule. Somebody knows Rule, brought him into the mix, and that's why he's in the mix. And the bottom line is, clearly, McCarthy came out. I saw both sides with their agendas the last couple of days. McCarthy leaks to put pressure on the Jets. It's an old trick. Knowing which way the wind's blowing, and the agents do, knowing which way the city sounds, and the sound has been hire McCarthy. The bottom line is you've had guys come out and kill McCarthy who have had agendas to kill him. Oh, not so fast. He's not this. He's not that. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. So you've heard that too. The bottom line is there's pressure being exerted on both sides, and something is amiss. Otherwise, it would have happened already.
Right, and where is Rule's coaching staff? This guy's been in the college ranks for the last 7, 8, 9 years.
And not only that, he has let 6 other coaches, 5 other coaches already, and all the guys who didn't make the playoffs, he's had all them and 6 other coaches already start attacking coaching staffs and already naming guys. So he's already been blocked out of a lot of guys.
Right. So where's he going to get a staff?
He's going to have a very minimal staff.
I don't get it. Like I said, I'm keeping hope against hope, but I got a bad feel here. It's not trending in the right direction.
No, I think, like I said, someone asked me a couple minutes ago, I said, if you put a gun to my head, the way this thing is unfolding, I think something's up. I really do. I think otherwise it would have been McCarthy hours ago.
Absolutely. It should have been done 2 days ago. And I think maybe we'll talk tomorrow, maybe before you go off the air tonight. I think you're going to hear Matt Rule's the head coach of the Jets.
I can tell you this. Before I came on the air, somebody told me that. And I said, I can't. They said, I understand you can't go with it, but take my word for it. It's happening. And
I'll tell you something. On New Year's Eve, Mike, a friend of mine has nothing to do with the Jets told me the same thing. Watch out for Matt. I didn't even know who Matt Rule was.
Well, you know what? That was good information. And number 2, somebody called me today. I was sniffing around at 2:30. Somebody called me and said, you watch, Matt Rule's going to be the coach. And he said he might be the coach before your show's over. And I said, really? I've tried to lock anything down. I have been unable to get a word from anybody. And I know people inside that building, and not one person has called me back. So
Could you imagine trying to sell? How are they going to sell this to the fan base?
I think that's the hardest reason why there's not been an announcement if they're going that way, because they don't know how to sell it to the fan base.
I agree.
There is going to be an eruption if it's not McCarthy. There is going to be an eruption.
Your phone lines will blow out the next.
I'm telling you, it's going to be an eruption. I think it's running 80% media, 90% fans want McCarthy.
That's right, absolutely, and then they're going to go in the wrong direction because they think they got a
feeling they are, but I can't. I don't think it's done. Maybe they have. Maybe they keep going back and forth. I don't know. I've tried to pin it down since 1:00 this afternoon. I haven't been able to do it. I've been trying.
I'm praying that this is a power play to maybe get McCarthy's price down a little. That's all I'm hoping for at this point.
All right, Ira. Thanks. All right, 5:00. We'll talk to Charles Davis in a minute. Back after this.